Cage culture. Cage culture is an aquaculture production system where fish are held in floating net. It involves the growing fish in existing water resource while enclosed in a net cage. Cage culture uses existing water resources such as pond, river, or open sea. Cages are used to culture several types of shellfish and finfish species in fresh, brackish, and marine water. Cage culture is a low-impact farming practice with high returns and least carbon emission activity.
Type of cage. There is 4 types of cage are used in cage aquaculture: fixed, floating, submersible, and submerged. For the fixed cage is the most basic and widely used in shallow water with a depth of 1 to 3 meter, and it consists of net backfitted to posts, and it's normally placed in the flow of stream, river, shallow lake, and reservoir, and it is not touching the bottom. And they are comparatively inexpensive and simple to build. Floating net cage is a type of cage that have a buoyant frame and a collar that support the backs, and they are less limited than the most other type of cage culture in terms of size requirement, because it can use in the open water and can be made in a great variety of design that suit with the culture species, and it is used in water body with a depth of more than 5 meter. For the submersible cage, it is rely on a frame of rigging to maintain the shape of the cage, and the advantage over other design is that its position in the water column, and it can be changed to take advantage of prevailing environmental condition, which is when during the calm weather, the cage can be kept at the surface, and when the adverse weather, the cage can be submerged into the water. The submerged cage are fitted in a solid and rugged frame, or can be a wooden box with a gaps between the slat to facilitate water flow, and it anchored with the substrate by stone or post. And they are submerged under the water and have a very limitation in using this type of cage.
Importance. Cage culture allows water to pass freely between the fish and the pond, permitting water exchange and waste removal into the surrounding water. Cage culture used for food fish culture and for fry to fingerling rearing. Fish inside have less chances of being attacked by predators. Cage can be removed from one place to another in emergencies. Treatment of disease is simpler in cage culture than that of pond culture. Contribute in effective use of fish feeds, and cage culture require less manpower. Fixed cage is inexpensive and simple, but their use is restricted. The use of fixed cage is limited to shallow. Protect water with soft substrates, and it is most basic and widely used in shallow water with a depth of 1 to 3 meters. Floating cages is the most widely used method of cage aquaculture. The cages can be made any size or shape and generally used in water bodies with a depth of more than 5 meters. Submersible cages can be moved up and down in the water column to take advantage of water conditions. It has adjustable buoyancy. If the weather is rough, the cage is lowered to calmer water. In calm conditions, the cage remains near the surface. Lastly, submerged cages. It fitted in a solid and large frame and submerged under the water. The use of submerged cages is very limited.
Next, there are many issues that happen in cage culture. Okay, the first one is biofouling. Biofouling is the growth of algae on the side of the cage and the growth of aquatic microphyte immediately around the cage. This restricts water flow through the cage and can cause the localized dissolved oxygen problem. Okay, the second one is vandalism, poaching and animal predation. Cage that locate in either isolate area or area of easy access are prime target for poachers. Next, this is exposed to the fish theft. Interaction with wild fish population. Wild fish can transmit disease to the cage fish. And the last one is risk of escape and interbreeding with wild populations can happen. Next, the third one is need nutritionally complete feed. Feed must be nutritionally complete and keep fresh because fish are unable to get the natural food. If hard feeding rate occur, it will reduce dissolved oxygen in water and will increase ammonia concentration in water. Okay, next is interference with other activities. For example, is like commercial fishing, water sport and tourism. It will faces many competing interests, and lastly, its legal status is not well defined. Okay, the next issue is disease outbreak. Due to high density of fish in the cages, it will increase disease and parasite transmission. Next, the crowding in the cage promotes stress into the fish and will allow disease organisms to spread rapidly. Okay, the last issues that happen in cage culture is it will cause environment pollution caused by accumulation of uneaten feed and fish excreta under the cage. It will cause external water quality problems. For example, is low oxygen levels.
The mechanisms or the operation of fish cages in fish culture is basically similar to the pond culture system, starting with completion of construction and preparation of the culture facilities for stocking, rearing and harvesting. Slight variation in specific activities exist, however, as the result of the very nature of the system. For example, it is obviously not possible to apply fertilizers, lime and pesticides since the system has open water exchange between the inner compartment and the outside environment. Soon after construction of the cage is completed, preparations are made to procure fry or fingerling for stocking. Cage-bred fish may or may not be fed supplemental or artificial diets depending on the stocking density used and the level of technology in the country. Current feed practices in freshwater cage culture involve the provision of supplemental feeds using readily available ingredients like rice bran or poultry feeds. At the end of the culture period, the fish are harvested from cage using harvesting net or from cage by lifting the cage and causing the fish to collect in one corner for scooping out using a pail. In order to establish a successful cage culture system, there are some factors that need to be considered in order to reach a successful cage culture system. The first factor is the protection from high winds or typhoon. We need to identify a perfect spot that is protected from any extreme weathers or any extreme disasters such as high winds or typhoons. The second one is to find an adequate water exchange that will enable the flow of nutrient-laden water through the cages. Next is to find a good water quality, such as high or adequate dissolved oxygen, stable pH, and low turbidity and absence of pollution. Next is the firm bottom mud to allow pen framework to be driven deep into substrate for better support. The fifth factor is that the freedom from predators and natural hazards, which means we need to protect our product or our fish from any invading predators such as alligators and invasive species. Next is the accessibility to sources of inputs including labor and markets, because we need to sustain, we need to maintain our productivity. So we need to find a perfect spot that our product have high demand in that area. And last factor is that we need to find a place where it has a good peace and order condition. These are some factors that need to be considered so that your cage culture can grow successfully in the future.
Okay, now we are talking about the application of the cage culture. So, the cage culture can be used in extensive, semi-intensive and intensive, which is that the intensive is we control of the food, water quality and others, but for extensive we does not control it, it's like natural. Next, it can be used or applied in the middle of the ocean, such as ocean cage culture. Next, cage culture can also be used offline near the island. It is because some of the cage cultures such as floating are used at there. The final one is the cage culture can be applied or used near to the brackish water because some of the species such as mud crab or shrimp are cultured there.